Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. If you're new, be sure to subscribe. In today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to make this knit look crop cardigan with some buttons in the front to give it that classy look. I will be making a size small for this tutorial, so if you want a bigger size or a smaller size, you want to refer to the written pattern, which is free. Find the link in the description box below. If you want the ad-free pattern, you also will find the link to the Etsy shop in the description box below. Before we go any further, be sure to subscribe and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below. So for this pattern, I'm only going to be working on a sample, and I will be using a 4mm hook and a 3mm hook. The actual pattern requires a 6mm hook and a 3 and your worsted weight yarn. So since I'm making a miniature version, you want to make sure you have access to the written pattern, which you find the link in the description box below, and it's gonna tell you how much to chain for your size. So for this size, I'm gonna begin with a chain of 20. It's not gonna be 20 for you, so you want to make sure you have access to the written pattern. So I'm just gonna go on and chain 20, and I'll meet you right back. So now that I have my chain up of 20, I'm gonna switch crochet hooks to my smaller one, because we're gonna start at the bottom of our cardigan, and I'm gonna yarn over, and into the second stitch from the hook I'm gonna go with a half double slip stitch. If you know me, you know this is my very favorite stitch. So to do a half double slip stitch, you yarn over, insert into your stitch, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. I like to bend my loop downwards and just slip stitch to the other 2 loops. So I'm going to do a total of 5. I just did 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you grab your stitch marker and place it into the 5th so that we can know, so that it's easier to identify as we're working downwards. And then I'll switch to my bigger hook, and I'll continue with the rest of the row, placing our half double slip stitches. So I'm going to go on doing this, and I'll meet you once I've got the last stitch to work into, because that's where we're going to start doing our increase, and I want us to do our increase together. So I have reached the very top of my work, and I've got one more stitch to work into. So into that last stitch, we're going to be placing 2 half double slip stitches to mark as our increase, just like that. And this is what it should look like. That's our first increase. To begin on row 2, we're going to do a chain up of 2. Usually we'll do a chain up of 1 for this, but since we're also going to do an increase on this row, we're going to do a chain up of 2. So into the second stitch from the hook, you're going to go in with a half double slip stitch, and that's going to mark as our first increase. And for the rest, you're going to go on down with your half double slip stitches into the back loop only, as I am doing. So you want to do this all the way until the stitch marker, where we're going to switch to the 3, the smaller hook. So I'm going to continue doing this off camera, and I will meet you once I've reached my stitch marker. So I have reached the end, I've reached the stitch marker. I'm going to take out the thicker hook and insert my smaller hook. Remove that stitch marker and finish the row. So this entire cardigan is going to comprise of back loop half double slip stitches. When you reach the stitch marker, you're going to switch to your smaller hook or your thicker hook, and just like that. And all you're going to do is increase, repeat rows 1 and 2. Once you reach your last stitch, like I have, you do a chain of 1, turn your work, and continue into the back loop only. So I'm going to continue doing this for 10 rows for this miniature version, but for you, you want to refer to the written pattern to see how many rows you want to do this for, and I'm going to meet you once I have finished with my increase section. When I lay it flat like this, you're going to see that it's starting to arc up like this because now we're starting to increase. So you go on increasing for your whatever size you require, and I'll meet you once I'm done with my increase section. So after 10 rows, this is what my work is starting to look like. We're getting this arc thing happening right here. So from here on, you want to refer to the written pattern. You're going to be working on a few normal rows on this side just to make up for the shoulder portion. As for me, I'm just going to do a total of 5 rows for this section. You want to refer to the written pattern to know how many you want to do for your size. So obviously we're going to start as normal with our 5 half double slip stitches, and then instead of increasing at this top part, we're just going to do normal rows. So it's just going to give us a little flat shoulder portion. So I'm going to do that off camera, and I'm going to meet you guys right after when we're done. So I've just finished doing my little portion here. I ended up doing 4 rows because you want to make sure you end at the bottom of the row. And then I got started on the other row. This row that I got started on is the row that we're going to use to divide the front portion and the back portion. So when you refer to the written pattern, it's going to tell you how many stitches you need to work up to before you stop here. I worked at 15. So for this little miniature, so I've left another 15 up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain up a total of 15. So that's 15. I'm going to block that last one and add an extra chain to begin my work, and then into the second loop from the hook I'll go in with my first half double slip stitch. So just to explain this portion, where now this is the front part, and this hole that we've made, this division, this is where we're going to be working our arm once we're done. But right now we're going to be working our back portion. So the back portion is not going to be comprised of any decreases or increases. It's just going to be normal rows. So you're going to work the required number of rows that you need to do. I'm going to do mine off camera, and I will meet you once I am done. So I made some progress. I went on and finished the back portion, which is what you're looking at right now. Everybody should look like this, no decreases, no increases. So as you know, for this entire thing I've been doing half double slip stitches down here. The written pattern will call you to do single crochets, but honestly it's all up to you. It's the exact same thing. You can do single crochets or continue with the half double crochet. Personally, I think I kind of like this better, but again, it's all up to you. If you want, you could even do just 2 slip stitches, but then that's going to give you a tighter hold down here. So after I did the back panel, you want to make sure you end at the bottom here, because once you work up how many stitches your size requires, we're going to do another chain up as we did this side. So what we're doing this side, we're just mirroring this side. We're working the other front portion, and I have just worked 4 rows, which is the 4 normal rows I also worked on this side. And now I'm about to start doing the decrease, just this side, to finish off the body of the cardigan. So we're going to do the first row of the decrease together. Just get my yarn ready. There we go. So to do a decrease, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that first stitch, pull through, insert it into the other stitch, pull through, just like that. And as we've been doing always, slip stitch through. We do that again together, just like that. Just like that, 4 loops on the hook and slip stitch through everything. But of course, you're only going to be doing a decrease for the first one. For the rest, it's going to be normal rows. So you'll be doing a decrease in the first one as you're going down and as you're coming back up, until you have the exact same number of rows as you increased. At the beginning, you're going to refer to the written pattern to know how many rows that is for you. So I'm gonna go on with my decreases until I have the exact same number of rows I increased on this side. I'll have the same number of decreased rows on this side, and then I'll meet you so we can fold it closed, seam the shoulder parts, and do a sleeve together. So I've just finished doing all my rows, and now I'm about to connect the shoulder portion so that we can start working on the sleeves. So just gonna fold that in like that, and this would be a great time to have a stitch marker. But then it really doesn't matter as much if you can eyeball it. You just want to connect, since we did 4 normal rows, I don't know how many rows you did for your size. You want to connect the exact number of normal rows you did to the back, just those. So this is where you need a yarn needle, but I like using my crochet hook. So I'm going to begin from here actually, because I don't want to cut the yarn. Connect it there and slip stitch it through. Just like that. So now, let me just do a chain up of 1 to make things easier. I'll turn my work. So I'm doing it from this other side, and I'm just gonna connect. Either you can connect with a chain 1 or slip stitch. I think I'll just do single crochets. So since yours is a bigger size, it's gonna take you a bit longer than this, so you might wanna pause and do just that. And I am done. I'm also going to do a chain up of 1 for this portion. So you don't have to do this, but you can go around with single crochets. I mean, I didn't do that for my main cardigan, because I can tell at the stitches quite easily. But if it's a bit hard for you, you want to go around the arm placing single crochets, but you want to make sure you connect it here so that we can start working on the sleeves. So I'm just gonna slip stitch my way down here on this side, especially. Well, I'll just single crochet my way down so that we can get started on the whole sleeve together. So I'm gonna do the rest off camera. So I've worked my way down all the way here, just like that. So I'm gonna do a chain up of 20 for the sake of this tutorial. And I'll block the last one and do a chain up of 1. You want to refer to the written pattern to know how many that you need to chain, but this is what your work should be looking like right about now. Just gonna grab my smaller hook to begin. Into the second stitch from the hook, going in with my half double slip stitch. And I'll go in with 5, as I have been doing the entire time. Four and 5, just like that. Grab your stitch marker. There it is. And place it right in there. And then grab your other hook, bigger hook, and finish off the row. So I'm going to finish off the row, and I'll meet you once I am back, once I'm done at the end of the row. I've just reached the top of my work, and I'm about to connect to the sleeve. So to connect your sleeve, you're going to identify your very next single crochet. This one for me right here. And to connect the row I just did, I will go in with a slip stitch. And I have connected this row. So to begin row 2, instead of chaining 1, we'll slip stitch into the next one, just like that. Turn the work, and into the back loops only. We're gonna go in with our half double slip stitches, and that's what you're gonna do for the whole sleeve. Once you reach up here, once you reach down here, you'll switch your hook into the smaller hook. Work up your 5 or however many you require for your smaller hook, and then switch to the thicker hook. Once you reach up here, you will connect into the next single crochet with a slip stitch. To begin the next row, you will slip stitch into the other one, turn, and do that all the way until you have an entire sleeve. Once you reach down here, whichever method you prefer, you can do a single crochet as we did with the hook, or you can use your yarn needle. You will connect the hooks. So remember how we connected using a single crochet on this side? That's because this is going to be the inside of our cardigan. So you're going to do the very same for this. You do that, and I'll meet you once I am done with the sleeve. So I finished my arm. Sorry about the bad lighting. I'm filming at night. I lost the daylight. So you're going to do that for both arms. I'm not going to do that because this is just for the sake of the tutorial. Now I'm going to show you how to work the collar. You can make this as thick as you want depending on your preference. So what you want to do first, I really don't bother doing this because it's easy for me to see the stitches, but you want to go all the way around with rows of single crochets. All that's going to do is help you see the stitches much more clearer. But up here, as you can see, each row is one stitch, so if you don't want to go all the way around with the single crochets, you can just count each row as a single stitch. So assuming you've gone all the way around, placing your single crochets. Once you reach the end, you just want to do a chain up of 1. So I'm just gonna connect my yarn, and you are gonna, there we go, and you're gonna start going around with slip stitches. But before you do that, you want to locate where you want your button and buttonholes to be, and you can just do that by placing a stitch marker. So assume I want my buttonhole to be 1 here. I don't know how many buttonholes you want, so you might want to know. I mean, I think I had 3 for the tutorial that I made, but for the sake of this small one, I'm just gonna have 2. Let me just grab my stitch marker. So I assume I want 1 there, and I want another 1 here. And you want to also leave corresponding stitch markers on the other side so that you can know where to place where to sew the buttons. So yeah, all I'm going to do is go through with slip stitches, just like that. By the way, if you're doing 10 rows like I did, you want to do 5 rows of slip stitches before you locate where you want your buttons to be, or your buttonholes, because you want the buttonholes to be at the center of the slip stitches, so it just looks neater. So I have located the first place I want my buttonhole to be, so I'm just gonna remove that. And obviously it's not just gonna be that one space. I usually do a chain up of 3, so I'm gonna do a chain of 3. This will also depend on how thick your buttons are. So if your buttons are bigger than this, you might want to do another chain or chain 4 or 5 so that the button fits in properly. And then I'm going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and then into the 4th I will continue with my slip stitch, just like that. And I am approaching the other stitch marker, and we'll do that again together. There we go. Let me just remove that quickly. So I'm gonna do another chain up of 3, 1, 2, and 3. Skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then into the 4th I'll go in with a slip stitch. just like that. So this is what your work should be looking like. You should be able to have these little holes, which is where your buttonholes are going to be. As you're working your way back around, you're just going to work over them. On top of them, you're just going to insert your hook through there, through in there, with your slip stitch, and just like that. And since I did 10 rows of slip stitches, I did 5 and then placed my buttonholes, and then I worked another 5 on top of those. If you want your band to be a bit thicker, all you're gonna have to do is work slightly more rows on top of that. So you're gonna keep on doing that all the way until you have the thickness you want. This is the thickness that I had. There was a total of 10 rows, and as you can see, I worked a total of 5 rows before I placed my buttonholes, which I happen to have 3 of them. I distributed them out pretty nicely. So to connect your buttons, what you want to do is, leaving out a loop of yarn, you want to, hold on, let me just grab my darning needle. You're going to grab your needle. You want a needle that's going to fit through the hole of the button, and this was actually quite big. I had to take a tapestry needle to be able to achieve this. So you want to place your yarn through the eye of your needle, and then you want to place a button here, and I was starting from underneath, so I would go from one hole and then into the other hole, and I would make sure I'm pulling it quite tightly, and then I would go in through the other hole and then into the other hole, just to get me this little X stitch kind of thing that's happening right here. And that ensured me safety. I knew that for sure my button won't be going anywhere. And that is how I connected the other 3 buttons, the other 2 buttons I mean. And that's about it. And then you're just gonna weave in your ends, and then you're gonna turn your cardigan inside out, and it's all good and ready to be worn. And it's so lovely, it fits perfect. Trust me, I love it so much. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, guys. Be sure to give a big thumbs up, subscribe so that you don't miss out on the other tutorials to come.